Crash Course Live is presented by
Smash It Demolition Derbies, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, host of Maymania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com.
Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt.
Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this edition of the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, episode number 373 on deck this evening. Thanks a lot for joining us here on a Tuesday, and this should be it in terms of the craziness, at least until we get to the middle of November. Alan's final soccer game for Modified was yesterday. It's final home game. He's got one more Wednesday. It was the last Monday game, I guess is the best way to describe it. He put one in, and the team played pretty well against a very rough Mid-Lakes team. It made things a little bit challenging. We got my boys' team out there for Waterloo, and I work in Mid-Lakes, so that was kind of fun. But nonetheless, we press on, and Alan will wrap things up against Geneva coming up on Wednesday. Hopefully he can get another goal. He was pretty excited that he got one in against Mid-Lakes there on Monday in the home season finale. And again, we'll be back on Mondays again for the foreseeable future, at least until we get to the other side of Blizzard Bash. Kathy Brewster has a birthday today, thinking about Kathy, and then Randy Lanou, he had a birthday. Johnny Shanks picked up a third-place finish out there in Kansas over the weekend. There was action all over the place over the weekend as well. Bethel had the Demolition Derby. We're going to be catching up with Jeremy Gulley here in a few minutes, talking to Frankie Guy as well. Get wells out to Evan Nugent. He got a little banged up in a derby over the weekend as well. So, lots of stuff going on. And then I got a note from Brian that he might not be making it tonight. Had some stuff to take care of at home. Obviously, he's been put through the ringer as well as we jumble things around and try to keep up with the changes in the schedule to accommodate the soccer stuff this fall. So I understand he's not going to be able to make it. Jeremy Gulley joining us on the line to hang out for a little bit. Don't forget. There's going to be some more programming coming up here at 8 o'clock, so we're probably going to hustle through our show. Finger Lakes 1, of course, been pretty forgiving with us in terms of making some studio time for us as well. Fresh Takes again up at 8 o'clock. Jeremy Gulley joining us on the line as the 2021 season has come to a close for Jeremy and for Spinning Wheels. At least it sounded like it, but now there's some talk that they're going to be making the trip down to Florida to run in Daytona, so that's kind of exciting. Jeremy, man, the huge check donation over the weekend, the way that the season went, San Filippo Smash, always a hit. Now you've got some more Derby action coming up, a little bit of a break. Tell me about what this season was like for you in 2021.
It was fast and furious, it seemed, Chris.
I think is a bit of an understatement, isn't it?
Yeah, we added a couple shows this year to the schedule. 4 of them, as a matter of fact. We added 2 at Bethel, 2 at GDS, plus we had the 6 points series, 6-race point series or 6-show point series for the youth kids. Mm-hmm. So that kind of put a little bit more on our plate, but I haven't calculated the number of cars yet that we had drivers-wise, but we averaged about 65, 70 cars a show. Mm-hmm. Of course, some had some more, and then San Filippo, of course, had a lot more, but that was, I don't figure that in the average. That's a show, that's a monster on its own. But we had 354 cars at San Filippo, mm-hmm. and the $106,198 donation was made to Team San Filippo, and that's not just Spinning Wheels. We just kind of do the work on the back end. The Derby, the drivers and the Derby community is where that comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's all the season-long fundraising combined, right?
Yeah, pretty. I mean, we started like the can collection early, but most of everything else was, specifically driven for San Filippo. Whether it be direct donations to Team San Filippo from various companies that we all reached out to, or derby driver owned companies, and so on and so forth, or some waffles that people, Alan McNeil did a couple of waffles, and Derek Foltz, and a couple other people donate. They did their waffle and donated a portion of their proceeds back. Of course, Ryan Ostrander did a waffle early in the year, but he did a direct donation to Team San Filippo when he did it. That wasn't counted into the money that was raised. And Rick Hansen, Brian Molyneux, Hippie, and Jason Sauer did some artwork, and Triple Moon Designs and New Breed Graphics did some cornhole boards. And it was just a ton of stuff that I don't even know exactly everything that was there. I just know some of the bigger ones. Tom Taylor Sr. built a raffle car that you got to keep, so that was a huge help. Somebody donated a MacBook to raffle off, and let's see, Devil Dog Transmissions. We had 2 of those from Cody Mittlitter out of, I think he's out of North Dakota. So it was definitely a group effort. In my opinion, the 4,000 to win show at the Otsego County Fair was a success. We had close to, I think we had 35 or 37 V8s, and there was no action in the heats like I've seen before in V8s. I mean, you certainly couldn't tell it was 4,000 to win. There was a $2,500 Mad Dog, but and I think some other promoters have stepped up, which was my reasoning, behind Spinning Wheel, was to either make the promoters step up and do right by the drivers, or eventually their shows were going to go away. So Brett stepped up. He put a 5,000 win on at Hemlock. I know Walton, the Delaware County Fair, had 2 nights, Monday and Friday night, were both over 4,000 to win. So I'm happy with the direction that the Northeast is headed, and I'm pleased that Spinning Wheels is up there trying to set the bar.
And you look at some of the other Northeast promoters that we got. We're going to talk with Frankie Guy in a little while. That's sort of been running in tandem a bit, what they're doing down there in Pennsylvania and what you guys are doing up here in New York. You guys have had a head start by a couple seasons over what Frankie was doing in terms of really focusing his efforts in hardcore. That has made the waves. It has forced other promoters to step up, and that's one of the things that Josh used to harp on all the time. It's like these drivers complain about the conditions, that their working conditions, as it were, or their payouts, or this or their that, but yet they continue to go back, and they continue to go back and continue to go back, and there wasn't really any. There's a grassroots discussion, but there was nothing ever really to become the catalyst for that change. And approaching it from a different side of things, with another promoter now effectively putting pressure on these shows to get the returns on the Derby investment and getting the drivers taken care of the way that they should be. It's been effective, and you guys have been able to reap that reward as well at the county fair type shows. That like you said, the San Filippo show at the end of the season, that's an outlier in its own right, but the competitive part of the season, so to say, where you've got other county fairs that you're going up against, you've been able to very much carve out your own, and what cars don't necessarily come there, at least getting the opportunity now to run for better money at their hometown fairs.
Yeah, correct. And we also picked up Essex County this year. We've been approached by a couple different county fairs. We haven't signed anything new for 22, but yeah, I mean, TJ is doing a hell of a job in his neck of the woods. Frankie Guy is doing a hell of a job in his neck of the woods. Brett was pretty much taking care of Western New York and Cobleskill. And, there's right now, 2021, I don't know if there's a better place to run than in the Northeast. I mean, obviously outside of Utah, which we're probably never going to get to where their payouts are. I mean, their stadiums, that's exactly what they are. They're stadiums. They're not arenas. They're huge play, and the sheer number of people that flock to the derbies in Utah allow them to have the payouts that they do. I mean, if we had 6,000 and 8,000 people venues, our payouts could be that high as well. But I'm super pleased with where the Northeast is sitting in 2021, and excited to bring in 2022.
The Utah thing is such an oddity to me as well. Having been out there and seen it in person, I know that this is how it works. You've got gigantic stadiums that sell out for the heats. And if that show's not over with in 2 hours, and if the show's not over with in 2 hours, they're leaving anyway. They want to see the fresh cars get turned inside out, and after that, they're done. They're tapped out. They don't often stick around for the feature. Most of that crowd is gone, and I don't get it. I never will understand it. If you're paying that kind of money for a ticket, I want to see the whole show, but that's just the landscape and how it works out there. That's the derby culture. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I mean, if you want to go see the heats when things go ballistic and then head on out to do something else for the rest of your night, so be it. But it's a really interesting crowd, compared to like in New York. Everybody will complain until the derby starts if it starts 10, 15 minutes late. But after that show could go 6 or 7 hours, and you won't really hear a whole lot.
Yeah, and the ticket prices out in Utah are 2 to 3 times what they are here in New York.
Yeah.
And nobody there, you very seldom hear a complaint about having to pay $50, $60 to get into the venue, where out here, sometimes we get complaints that it's $15 to get in. So, I mean, there's a lot of things, a lot of differences that'll probably never get us to be able to pay $55,000 and $60,000 to win a show. But again, we're doing what we can do with the venues that we have.
What's your take on that? We've had a lot of off-the-air conversations about the threshold. There's a dividing line. You talked about that $4,000 to win show that drew 35 cars. Out there, $10,000 shows are a dime a dozen. The $25,000 show in Utah may only draw 25 cars, just because the landscape is so inundated with derbies that pay significant money. The cars get spread out, and not everybody goes everywhere because they don't have to. There's that dividing line. $4,000. They drove their butts off for that $4,000, and the $2,500 Mad Dog was certainly an incentive for that. But it seems like once you get past a certain threshold, maybe it's $7,500, maybe it's $10,000, maybe it's $12,000, maybe it's $15,000, whatever the number might be. But it seems that, at least to me, and that's why I'm looking for your perspective on this as a promoter, the jump in cars that you gain from $7,500 to $12,000 is minimal. The depreciation in action is much more notable than the cars that you pick up as you jump in that purse. So I don't know if it comes to be a point where you're diminishing returns on two fronts. You're not gaining any more cars. You're not gaining any more people. It doesn't necessarily become a better show if it's somebody who's a middle-of-the-road Demolition Derby fan who doesn't necessarily get into the gamesmanship of driving and just wants to see cars turned inside out. What's that saying to you? Do we need to get into those big money purses and those big money to-win numbers to keep the landscape effective? I mean, it seems like it's working pretty well now.
And my take on that is kind of, you can't, there comes a certain point, which you've basically explained, that no matter, you could raise the purse, but you're not going to get any more cars, so why raise the purse? You're not going to get, you're selling out the grandstand, so you can't do anything else there. You're not getting any more money through the gate, or, you're not getting any more admission tickets. And the average fan doesn't know the difference between a $12,000 to win show and a $5,000 to win show. In my opinion, what this area needs is the drivers themselves to have confidence in their builds and step up their ability and have the confidence to go out and run for $4,000 or run for $5,000. I don't know how many kids or young men told me their builds weren't good enough for 5,000 to win, so they didn't bother. And I think that it's kind of a vicious cycle. You have to have the cars to have the money, but my personal opinion on it is I would rather pay, say, 4,000 to win, 4,500, 5,000 to win, but I would rather pay deeper. I would pay the top 10. If I could get more cars, I would pay the top 10 instead of the top 5. Because in that way, at least you get something for your efforts.
Right.
You're not walking away, with one winner. And in this area, I personally don't think you're going to draw the guys, what we will call a national level driver, that's going to spend $250, $300 entry fees to compete for $10,000 to $12,000. Obviously, if there's not a big sponsor on board, then that money has to come from somewhere.
Right.
So if it's not coming from the grandstands and it's not coming from big sponsors, it's got to be basically just drivers paying drivers. And at that point, you're gambling on yourself.
Right.
So why not keep the keep the entry fee affordable, keep the build to the point where it's a decent build that can last a heat, can last a feature, that guys can get behind the wheel and still compete, and let the class grow a little bit.
Got a bunch of people checking in the live chat. Scott Kiefer likes that idea. Eric Remington checking in. Scott Kiefer's boy Ryan also has, he's got a birthday today. We missed that. Chaos in the Valley is a show that I think falls in line with kind of what you just described. They set out what their minimum pay is going to be, and they try and let that money trickle back. With the exception was when they got all those compact cars that one year, they took all the money and they dumped it right on the top, and the total winner's share for the compacts jumped from like 3,000 to win to 8,000 to win or something, because they got a surplus of compact cars and got to the point where they had to run heats and features. It turned the event planning on its ear when they drew that kind of car count, but it's what was going to happen. They've done a good job of adhering to that. That event was over the weekend. Austin Jumper came away with a win in the stock class there. So that was kind of fun to see. I think there's something to be said about that paying deeper thing, and it also by having the support from the additional cars, you're going to be able to pay a little bit deeper without cannibalizing the top. It's always a tricky thing. The nuance of Demolition Derby, if you look close, some drivers automatically default to seeing $4,000 purse to being $4,000 to win, or a wily promoter can put out there $4,000 to win. Well, if you finish second place, you're still winning money. So they kind of keep close to the vest how much they're actually paying for first place, and I think that's one of the things that you've helped. The stronger promoters in the Northeast have been able to help root out and make a little bit more clear what you're going in there to compete for. And in this pay structure where you're paying a little bit further back, it's not cannibalizing first place. You're still able to put out there how much the winner is going to be competing for, and then fattening things back a little bit further, which I think is always a good move. I mean, when stuff is kept in the dark, eventually it does find the light. And when it comes to the light in that fashion, it's never a good thing.
It's like Meltdown. We pay $375 but you have to make the track, and the feature. So no, we don't pay a heat win, but you have to win your heat to get to the feature. So
right.
if you finish in the top two in your heat, you're going to the feature. You get your car onto the track. It's $375 to win heat. We have to win the heat to get to the feature. So, I mean, the top 20 or top 15 all got $375 at Meltdown, and then the top 5 got whatever they got. Second was $2,000, and first was $4,000, and I don't remember exactly, but I think it's not. Some of the old school drivers keep saying, you should pay more to first, you should pay more to first, you should pay more to first. Well, the problem with that is that
it doesn't work.
We all know that. Well, it doesn't work, and we all know that people come in numbers. So you get 3 buddies who finish in the top 3, and if you throw $10,000 to win, and those three guys work together the entire heat because they're going to, and then they end up splitting the 10 grand at the end of the day. So I get it. The top three are the three guys that are running together, and the deals that are made, they've always been made since I've been in demolition derby.
Right.
I used to love the promoters that say, if you didn't like the team, and to bring more friends, because that's the way it was.
Right.
I mean, so to lump it in to pay one guy at the top, to me is, it's kind of disheartening to the guy that's finished his fourth place, just outside the money, and the top three are all buddies, and they're going to split it anyways. So my opinion would be to pay deeper, and that's what we've been working towards. Once the car counts increase, we'll pay back further. This year, our numbers have even been down at our county fairs. Not way down, but we were down a few cars, and I'm not certain whether that was because of the youth cars. We had a pile of youth cars at our youth shows this year. So, I mean, at Bethel this last week, we had 16 V8s, and they were youth cars.
Right.
We had 11 bone stock V8s and 16 youth cars. Mm-hmm. That's 27 V8s. That's more V8s than some county fairs get.
Right. And you had the gentleman from Maine came down and ran with the youth class, right?
Yeah, Will Brown.
Yes.
Yeah, he ended up taking second. He come down. I think they came down in the early show as well.
Yeah.
I can't remember, but
and Trent drove in that one too, right?
We had an $11,000 payout at Bethel.
Wow.
This last weekend.
Yeah, that was the one of the Backuses won that youth class, and Trent was in there too, wasn't he?
Trent wasn't in the youth. No, oh. Trent's an adult now.
Oh.
Lucas actually ended up winning the show, and he won the youth point series as well, Joe Backus Jr.
Yep.
And second youth was Haley Blackman.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Third youth was Shayla Cummins. Fourth place was one of the Clemos, Chase.
Okay.
Chase Clemo, and then fifth place, Jake Hackett.
Cool.
So that was our top 5 youth competitors for this year, and we paid all the way through the year. We paid, talking about paying back deeper. We paid the youth, the top 5 every show. So and it's just trying to get them involved. But we had well over 100 youth cars all year.
That's crazy.
Patrick
Dallas, who's celebrating an anniversary as a follower of the show, he says Mad Dog Money certainly does help. Scott Kiefer says that this might be a way to get guys that wouldn't otherwise come and run. They got the small pocket, might have an opportunity to run. Tommy Woodbury, also an anniversary follower, says keep building the quality show, and people are going to come. Alex Vesco checking in. Justin Hatch checking in. Matt Evans checking in. Tommy Woodbury, he got 4th place at Meltdown this year, and it paid better than some of the shows that he runs back home. Not hard to wrap your head around that when you look at some of the purses that we've seen up here in the Northeast and throughout New England. Some places it gets a little thin. They're living in the past, as it were. So doing their payouts from an era gone by.
Yeah, and you're going to see those county fair numbers wise, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
We hear it every show, and I get it. I understand some of these guys, it's my hometown. Mm-hmm. And I understand that, Unfortunately for me, Morris is my hometown track, and now I run 4 shows there, So it's the county fairs are going to have to start stepping up, or guys are going to start walking away, no matter what the money is, no matter what their hometown is. Fairs cannot survive with 12 to 15 cars in a derby.
No.
The fans are going to start to get upset that they're paying for the show, and if they don't step up, they're just not going to have a derby.
Right. You're talking about the car counts and some of these.
Go
ahead.
we all know that the Derby pays for a good portion of many of the county fairs.
Right, and that's been my position for a long time about the reasons why purses and such have stagnated is because that money's going to go elsewhere. They don't necessarily want to affect the overall budget. You still want to have a county fair. So unless anybody think that I'm changing course in terms of this conversation with paying back a little bit further, I'm certainly on board with more people getting money. Some of the fairs, they simply can't or won't do it, and it's not going to change. Broome County down in Whitney Point, they enjoyed a bit of a renaissance this year. They brought a day back. They had good car counts and everything like that. And some of the individuals that were tied to that show were very quick to pat themselves on the back. And the issue was at the registration line is they still had that same 80s or 90s mentality, whatever era you want to pick from, where they're kind of talking about the drivers as being dirty or redneck or this or that. And it's like, that you might want to rethink some of the engineering and money that is passing through this gate right now. And also consider what's going on. Kind of like you said, you had some low car counts while those cars might have just migrated other places, having 100 youth cars come through. We also had people that built for one county fair or two county fairs a year, and if there's something left over, they go and they run that in the spring and build the next one. We didn't have a bunch of county fairs last year, so some of that leftover stuff never got used up. And San Filippo gobbles up a lot of leftover cars at the end of the year. I don't know if you've ever been there, but sometimes there's like 300 plus cars, and it usually gobbles up a lot of that leftover stuff. So some of those guys that didn't get to run last year may have just sat on the car and held on to it and run it this year, or run the leftovers, held it for the county fair, and not built a new one this year. So I can see where that kind of plays into the situation as well.
Yeah, the other thing we thought about the reason low car counts were is guys didn't run last year. They realized how much free time they had.
Yeah.
So they said, I'm going to hang up my helmet for a little while and do some fun stuff and free time stuff. But we're hoping to drag those guys back in and get them back building and whatnot. We do understand that it takes up a lot of your time, and that's why we're also pushing for the higher payouts. It does take up a considerable amount of time. But we also, family time is very important as well. So we're trying, it's a fine line you have to walk. And, we're hoping that, the counts will come back up. And unbelievable amount of fresh cars at San Filippo this year.
Right.
Unbelievable amount. I would say probably 80 to 85% of the cars were fresh.
It's because you keep putting together these oddball divisions with muscle cars and relic cars. You don't find a lot of those pre-runs laying around.
Yeah, well, we only had 4 relics that showed this year. I think we had eight registered and only 4 showed. Austin Jumper had a beautiful 58 Imperial.
Yeah.
Pulling onto the track, he snaps a tie rod.
Oh, no.
He just had a hard way to go with that, but that thing was probably the most cherry Imperial I think I've ever seen. It was absolutely gorgeous. But the muscle car division, that did exactly what we wanted to. It drew attention from many, many, many people, car clubs, hot rodders, enthusiasts, classic car guys. It drew attention, and that's what we wanted. So that was a 100% a success, and I have been told by many people that was one of the best heats of the day.
Right on.
It was certainly fast-paced, but we just try to keep something new and something to catch your attention. And we're going to continue to do that. I don't know what we're going to do next year. We a lot of guys want us to bring the muscle car class back. They really liked it. They enjoyed the builds, blah, blah, blah. So we'll probably do that, and we'll see what we can add, to spice up San Filippo 6.
Do you have any expectations in terms of signing additional fairs for next year? I know you said you haven't signed anything yet, but you have been contacted. Is the schedule going to be expanded? Early expectations?
I don't really know, Chris. Yeah. We all still have full-time jobs, and at a certain point, the quality starts to suffer when you start getting a bunch, a huge quantity, and we don't want to be we don't want our quality of a show to suffer with quantity.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And unfortunately, all of the county fairs in New York are like back to back to back to back to back.
Right.
And a couple of the fairs that have contacted us, they're very close to our already Hell Week, which is Morris, Holmesdale, Morris, and I just don't foresee us taking on any more fairs unless we could find a mid-July maybe. But we do have Lewis County, which is usually the second or third weekend in July. So it's definitely, we're definitely going to move Bethel from the October show that it was this year up into September somewhere, but we're not sure exactly where yet. We're going to talk with the promoter out at Bethel and move that show forward. The motivation after San Filippo was very lacking. It takes a lot out of you, especially since we went to a 2-day show. Right. We were done the first night at around 9 o'clock and the second night around 7 with the Derby itself, but then we had to clean up and all that stuff. So
sure.
We didn't get home. We didn't get in the camper until around 11, 12 o'clock at night. So it was definitely rough, but worth it.
Well, no question. I mean, that $106,000 check as the season came to a close, being donated to Team San Filippo, certainly a big thing. Well worth the effort. Congratulations, all congratulations due on that. San Filippo Smash 6 is scheduled for September 1st and 2nd, October 1st and 2nd in 2022. San Filippo Smash 6, October 1st and 2nd, 2022. And certainly keeping Josh Buell in our thoughts as well. Josh lost a close friend of his, Steve. I hope I don't butcher his name. Cachalaris. I hope I said it right. I saw that he lost him, so that's certainly thinking about him. And in the midst of all this chaos here, as the 2021 season comes to a close for you guys.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm sure you got some. I'm sure you got some hunting plans here coming up. How's all that looking?
Oh, yeah, we're busy at work, and, I got to start my Florida car, so we'll get that Lincoln pulled in here shortly, and I think it's a co-promotions Battle of Daytona. I don't remember the name of the show, but it's at the Daytona Arena.
Yep.
On asphalt, so George and I are the family and George and I are going to go down to Daytona a week early and kind of relax and for a week, and then smash the car and then come home.
Well, travel safe, enjoy it, and if anything else comes up, we'll be watching the webpage and watching the Facebook pages for Spinning Wheels and keeping track on new announcements and stuff. So I'm sure we'll be talking again soon.
All right, bud.
All the best, Jeremy. We'll catch up with you soon. See you now. Jeremy is on Wi-Fi calling, so there's a bit of a delay. So I think he said his final goodbyes here for this one. And Jeremy, I appreciate you, man. We'll catch up with you soon. There goes Jeremy Gulley. Fighting a little bit of technology there, but it worked out okay. It worked out all right. So we're going to shift gears here real quick. We'll catch up on the chat. If anybody has been following along, Corey Lee getting tagged here by Laura John. Christy, let's see. Christy, drivers need to step out of their comfort zone and give the new classes or bigger shows a try. I agree with that. Massachusetts Derby scene is dead, and he's going to keep going to New York to run Jeremy's shows. Morris is going to become my hometown. Track's been great to me, says Alan McNeil. Picked up some success over there. Got the win, I believe, in one of the raffle cars. Trevor Stewart, drivers need to support the fairs that support the drivers. Good point. Number of members joining the Northeast page from Hot Rod sites was huge. What I wanted to ask was how many websites or how many Facebook groups did Jeremy get banned from on the heels of that? I know that I was seeing a number of descriptions for hot rod groups had changed it to say if you smash or derby cars, you're not welcome here. I thought that was interesting. Morris is the first track that Jeremy Boyd wants to hit if he's ever allowed across the border again, and I believe that border's opened up. I think he can make it here as long as there's another more unsavory reason why he didn't get across the border. Austin Jumper, we talked about him getting the win down there at Cass in the Valley. There's Christy Germain. So we're going to be catching up with Frankie Guy here in just a moment. Real quick, we've got Buried Alive 2 coming up October 29th through the 31st. 12,000 win super stocks, the Graveyard Rumble, Joker Compacts, all of that part of the program that's going to be going on down there at the Graveyard Rumble. At Buried Alive 2. We'll be catching up with TJ McCulloch, I'm sure, on that one as we move through it. Fall cleanup show at Washington Courthouse is going to be October the 23rd. That's coming up this weekend. Tim Clark's been very busy. I don't know if you've been watching the Blizzard Bash Facebook pages, but all of the rosters and lineups have been released now for the teams and everything that's going to be going on through the course of that weekend. Going to be an excellent time, to say the least. Here's a look at what the schedule is looking like. Inspection times have also been posted. I'm interested to see how close everybody's able to keep on that schedule for tech spots, but I wish nobody ill will. It just gets a little tough. November the 8th is when the border opens. Okay, so there's our answer for that. Live heat draws are going to be Wednesday, November the 10th during Blizzard Bash 2.0. Thursday is the qualifying rounds for the national teams and the qualifying teams. On the 11th, the 12th is the national and qualifying round 2, 80s bone stock and street stock weld classes. Compact and limited weld team round 1 are the morning of Saturday the 13th, and then the national and team qualifying B features, compact and limited weld B features, mods, front wheel drive hobo class are Saturday night, and then Sunday's championship Sunday, the 14 features, limited weld, compact qualifying, and national side plus the 2-man extreme heats. All part of that. The virtual Blizzard Bash is coming up this weekend. Going to be run Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So excited to be working on that project with the Realistic Derby project. Jesse Myers and all those guys. The team rosters are coming together here, and cars are being submitted. I think all the inspections are done at this point for the virtual Blizzard Bash. Jeffy's Fab Farm recognizes an industry leader in all manner of purpose-built demolition derby parts, starting with rear ends in 06. Jeffy's Fab Farm expanded to headers in 08, and the shop can boast a combined 70-plus years of mechanical skill. I saw Jeffy make a post, leave a message. He's trying to accomplish something crazy in 9 days. I'm anxious to see what ends up rolling out of that shop. Jeffy's always fun to follow. If you don't follow him on Facebook, make sure you track him down. The Fab Farm has a Camry in a Box program. Sets you up for success. It's a retail price of $525. Check out the multi-fit shifter options as well. You can find everything you need: air and fuel components, suspension and transmission parts, steering components, pedal switches, gauges. You need it. It's on the farm, jeffysfabfarm.com. The hardcore series has come to an end. We're going to be getting with Frankie Guy here in just a moment. I missed the update from our man Mark Elliott over the weekend. Rod DeMann's Preble County Fair in Eaton, Ohio was the 16th. Right now, going into that event, Steven Sickles was leading the points. Mason Stacy was 76 points in second. Terry Abadi in third place with 74. Dan Ruse and TJ McCulloch rounding out the top 5 there. And then Smith Metalworks, of course, very active with the Unified Point Series when it comes to the East Coast here. All-purpose fabrication shop that has taken the Northeast by storm. Smith Metalworks features more than 40 years of combined metalworking experience. The hallmark of the product line is that Superstock bumper. Casey Smith and Smith Metalworks had a great post about an individual making their adult debut and found some success there. There was a couple of pictures of the car. It was really cool. Make sure you jump online and check them out. The Superstock bumper replicates a bunch of the popular factory releases. You look at it, you know right away what you're looking at and what they were working off of when they put that one together. They've got Kronvik door skins. They've got GM floor liners. In-person locations for pickup in Mercer, Uniontown, and Bethlehem, or it can be shipped to your door using the website, smithmetalworks.info. Experience and passion, second to none. So gave you the rundown on some of the folks that help keep Crash Course going as we work through episode number 373. And now we got to get Frankie Guy on the line to talk a little bit about Hardcore's season as that came to a close here. And we are flying through episode 373. We do have to keep an eye on the clock, though. We don't want to get caught here and have the Fresh Takes crew come in the middle of the show, and we certainly don't want to make them late. There's Frankie. And a smooth transition to Frankie Guy joining us here. How are you, Frankie?
I'm doing great, Chris. How are you?
We're doing all right. Just looking back on 2021 as a whole, trying to catch up on everything. As I saw Tommy Woodbury pop in there, I forgot he had the Green Mountain Fall Bash, and I don't think we got into the results of that. You guys had a great season ender. Hellraiser champion was Jordan Cook. Nick Quinzler won the championship in the hobby stock division over Chris Quinzler. Full-size J.D. Loring got a win. Hardcore compacts, Ricky Yeager's the 2021 champion. Daryl Myers got a win. Don Santel won that Elite Builders class. Richie Cronk got a win. In the Bone Stocks, Youth Compact was Jacob Minoski. Full-size youth class was C.J. Corwin. Ricky Yeager got a last chance win. Steven Sickles got a last chance win. And Jody Braden winning on the ladies only heat out there at the final confrontation. How easy is it at this point to look back on 2021 and digest the whole thing? It has been a heck of a year, and somehow, and you know, I remember we talked in the spring, we weren't really sure if this was going to happen. It seems like this year was better than 2020 itself.
Yeah, absolutely. As a whole, learned a ton of stuff this year. You continue to learn. I can't reiterate a lot of what Johnny Gulley talked about there, as purses and cars and people and up and down. And congratulations to the San Filippo guys. What a great show and all them up there. That was awesome. I didn't get to attend this year. Just wore out, let's say that. And but great show up there. Congratulations to those guys.
Tell me a little bit about your season. I mean, you started the year with it was kind of like when we talked there in the spring. I was on the way home from school, and you said, you know, I really don't want to set anything in terms of expectations. We just want to make sure that we keep treating the drivers right and let our reputation speak for itself. And you guys I think you did okay with that plan.
You know, it continues to be, you know, one of the things we got a bunch of this year is about our inspections and how we do go over the cars in such a fine-tooth comb, and the competition. Mm-hmm. Those are the two biggest things a lot of things we heard this year. That's a good thing to us. We've actually, you talk about raising the bar and doing things and how many people, you know, you didn't even have to even run a hardcore show in the last couple of years. You now have got photographers. You've got better trophies. You've got better payouts. You got better competition everywhere you go now. So that was something we wanted to keep as a standard. And our shows are definitely harder to win than others. More competitive. And absolutely, we're going to look at the cars.
Tell me about what 2022 might be. Looking back on 2021, you guys were running ragged there a couple weeks with shows stacked up on top of each other. Is there space on the schedule to add to it, or would you be better served to take what you've done in 2021 and refine it?
We're going to do, you know, in the early spring, there is room in the earlier months as we get into, you know, June, July, August. I don't think there's much room at all for anything left. Our weekends are pretty much taken. And while I'm on here, if you'll allow me, I wanted to bring a 2022 hardcore announcement.
Oh, sure.
Right here first. You guys are first to hear about it. But we will open up the 2022 Hardcore Tour, April 30th, at the Great Stoneboro Fair with a compact team show.
Oh, wow. This is
so our first coming out with the hardcore compacts, and I know everybody has their opinion, and I've been around a few different places in this year and over the past. The hardcore compacts, bar none, are the hardest hitting compacts in the country. If you don't believe me, come sit in one and get you some. I'm telling you what, it's dangerous. It's amazing to see and watch these guys go. The builds aren't that crazy, but I'm telling you what, those cars are incredible. The drivers are incredible. My hat's off to the whole compact this year, just bringing it every show after show after show.
So this is going to be April, did you say April 30th?
April 30th. The always infamous Great Stoneboro Fair. Hats off to those guys up there, in Casey Smith's backyard. They were excited last year with opening with us and things like that, and the fair was tickled to death again. A little bit of low car count, but we'll take 6 or 8, 10 cars killing each other out there, and 40 of them bagging any day.
Does Stoneboro ever get bored of having derbies? I mean, it seems like you just call them up and say, "Hey, we need this date too," and they're like, "Done." You have 27 derbies there a year.
They're one of the fair boards that get it. If that makes sense.
It does.
They love demolition. It's a demolition derby area. Stoneboro, and I go back to Firster and Henshaw. It was bad habit. I went there for a fair, and then I caught myself staying overnight and renting a room to go to a fair derby. It's just one of those places that's electric, and you sit down in there, and where it's at, in the noise and the loudness and the lights on it. I mean, it's electric. I mean, if you can't get fired up, this year I did the fair. I announced because Mark was in a previous engagement. I mean, you got goosebumps sitting up in that thing, and that crowd's on their feet, screaming, yelling. The cars are banging and smashing. You can't get excited there. You got to know you don't have a heartbeat.
That's it is a heck of a facility. I mean, I've been down there a couple of times. It is just so cool to be there, And then you start hearing all the stories. It's like pulling into that place. It's like pulling into Daytona or something. You hear all these former war stories and stuff, and you get there and you get to see it, and you can definitely feel it in the air for sure. That is really cool. The team.
I always talk about like how Indianapolis, how the track goes between the two,
right?
And that's that Indianapolis 500 for us right there, and we're proud to come together with the Great Stoneboro Fair again and give these compacts a showcase, if you will.
Sure.
To open up with.
That is very cool. So I mean, that's a season-long collection of information and data points and stuff. So this is something that people have been asking for. They've been looking for a compact team derby down there.
We're always looking to change it up and things.
Sure.
And, the full-size guys did a great job. We're not taking anything away from them. But, man, our compacts this year, we went to West Alexandria. We had 60. 40 in Washington. Championship over 30, I believe. Just badass compacts, man. I mean, they are. Jonathan Howman, age 15, has put together an amazing set of rules. You can compete. You talk about being able to compete in the heavy builds. Those rules are so spot on. You can be the best guy in the world or the worst. If you build to the rules and you come to the show, you can be competitive. So hats off to those guys in the safety aspect and the build aspect. And they are just hard enough to rock your socks off. I mean, I've seen guys welded up this year like I've never seen before,
What, turning things back to 2021, I mean, you had a couple trips over to there to Stoneboro, and you got into a couple of new facilities this year with the expanded tour. A bunch of the shows were part of the Unified Point Series. You also had the World Championship, the Minivan World Championship event, stuff like that.
Yes.
You're finding new ways to incorporate the standard fair demolition derby in an innovative fashion, so that they get a chance to be in the spotlight without constantly being the also ran support class, so to say.
Right.
This staying in line with that and giving those compacts a chance to be out there. But on the flip side, looking back at 2021, is there anything that was surprising to you, or maybe caught you off guard, or was an element that you weren't expecting to see?
Yeah. Again, we talk about learning, and I mean, as my 30 or whatever plus 40 years, 30 years, we added a street stock compact this year. We added a bone stock class this year. Both were way more successful than we thought they were going to be.
Interesting.
On the fair level, again, I think you're going to see more of that from us. In that aspect of when we go to the fairs, we're going to have more classes for that average Joe that builds one car or maybe two cars a year or comes to his fair. We're going to focus on, again, raising that car count at those fairs and stuff like that. So you're probably going to see a little bit of those fair type builds from us this year, more than normal, and still have our hardcore hobby stock, which there's going to be some renaming. You'll see some renaming from us this year.
Okay.
On classes, just to clarify what they actually are. So that, we thought a lot of people didn't dig into when I said hardcore full size. If you don't read the rules, what's a hardcore full size? What's a hardcore hobby? Hobby stock kind of gives it a little bit. I hate derby car names. Limited weld. The first time I read, I thought limited weld meant it would be limited on what you could weld. Well, it was total opposite. It was
right.
limited of what couldn't be welded. And I'm like, wait a minute. So the naming of classes across the country, I'm just going to be it sucks. It's terrible. Don't follow that. Please dig into the rules as you go down. There's always surprises, as I see. Maybe a little more uniformity in a couple of the full-size classes in our areas. Nice. I know there are some guys interested in that, and in a local area on that frame and that rear end and
sure.
that unchangeable stuff.
Right.
You're able to go from place to place.
I think those are good things. I always got a kick out of the naming of divisions. Limited weld in New York and a limited weld in Kansas and a limited weld in Minnesota are all very, very different things. Very different things. And part of that is geography. The technology from the center of the country works it from the middle out to the coast. So we're always going to be a little bit behind. The internet has made the world a little bit smaller, but it hasn't made it instantaneous in terms of the way build technology is adapted and the influence of that stuff. We're always going to be a little bit behind, which isn't a criticism. I don't mind that. But limited weld here is a lot different than when you start moving towards the center of the United States.
Oh, absolutely. You talk about it, you mentioned kicker and people, light kicker, heavy kicker, and people made fun of it. But honestly, when you get down to it, there was light kicker. There was actually heavy kicker. I mean, there was some pro stock builds adding a kicker. Doesn't make it a kicker car. And there were some people found out the hard way this year, too. So.
Right. Interesting.
So, yes. But yeah, we are still, again, if we finish off, and next year you can bet your bottom dollar there'll be a hardcore cleanup show in the end of the year. The rest of the year, well, we are not done yet, as far as we're still going to be at Dead Man with TJ. Mm-hmm. We're taking the Almighty Lift up to help out with lifting cars, and we'll have the apparel and stuff up there. And always a great time, at the Dead Man Derby. We'll be up there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, as long as it takes to pitch in and do whatever we can do for TJ. And then, graciously, Casey Smith and Team America has invited me and my wife to Kansas.
Nice.
For my first Blizzard Bash. So, hardcore is going to be pulling for Team America this year, right at the track and pitching in what we can do or wherever to give them all the best of luck out there. So excited about that one.
And you got to get in the car this year a couple times.
Oh, my. Yes. Again, Pete Hansen, my buddy, 3 or 4 years ago, when this all started, and I met Pete, and there's something about him that I liked, and there was I could see us. I walk away, I think like we could be friends, we could be buddy, and it's become a great relationship. Mm-hmm. Him stepping up the end of the year when we had our, interaction with our 10K wasn't going right, and he just out of the blue, hey, what are you doing today? Oh, I don't know. Well, he said, well, let's make a $30,000 person trying to smash something in a couple weeks. I'm like, sure, why not? So, him stepping up and knowing the heavy guys, learned a ton there also. Hats off to those guys. A different animal. Those drivers, those cars,
yeah.
The way that goes down, way, way, way different than speechless. Frankie, not sure what to say next, and that's big to me. That was just phenomenal. The whole deal. You talk about separating the men from the boys, and then there's men, and then there's guys that drive those cars. Let me tell you. I sat in, and then Pete, we got to talking afterwards, and he still had an old hardcore car sitting around, and he's like, hey, why don't you come take this car and go do something with it, see if you can bend it. I'm like, okay, I said, okay. I said, I thought about it. My wife, what do you mean, okay? He said, what if you break something, or what if you hurt something? And I thought to myself, what an opportunity. How many people does Pete Hansen say, hey, come get this car and go run it, do something with it? You know what I mean? I thought, if I don't take this opportunity, you're crazy. I mean, everybody in the country wouldn't want to sit in one of these cars. Right. And, oh, my, let me tell you what. Wow, what an amazing sit. I called it controlled chaos. It was amazing to sit in there, and that right foot, that feeling. Red line red line motors, just that half a car length shot compared to what I'm used to in a car like that. Totally different beast. It was cool. There was a couple guys that ran our show 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was derbying with them, and they acknowledged that too. That how many times you see that? 2 weeks ago, I'm in your a big show at Georgetown. You're out here just smashing cars with us. A little street cred, and I went in and I just let her eat the best I could, as much as I could. Pete said, just run it. He said, the thing only knows one thing, and that's just run it. So, in Pete fashion, I actually ended up I broke a line on this hydro steer is what happened to me. Or it was down to the Godwins and the Allens, which their cars might have been, I question a little bit of the DP class there a little bit. But hey, it was a cleanup show, and I get it. So, no complaints here. I went out and, me and J.D. Lorraine was probably the best of the rest.
I'm glad you had fun.
I had a blast. It was the ride of my life.
I was worried.
More respect.
I was worried maybe you weren't going to like it.
What's that?
I said I was worried maybe you weren't going to like it.
No, my God, I more than liked it is what's scary. Where an fat old guy got in there and got it. I felt so at home. As of course in my career, with old GM, when I sat in that seat, it was like I'm home again. I am where I belong. Stuff was where it should have been. It looked like it should have been. The look out the post over the hood. It was just like meeting an old friend. Right back at it. Everything was awesome.
Awesome. I got a comment here to share with you. Corey Lee is posting here in the live chat. Frankie Guy, so glad that you said you're bringing more of the stock shows. It's so much simpler and affordable for us to do what we love. So already getting lifetime feedback on your decision to bring back and clarify some of the divisions and amplify some of that stock stuff and give, as you described, to the guy that might only build 1 or 2 cars through the course of the year, a chance to participate at more of the hardcore tour shows.
Absolutely. The fairs, to a point, there's always 1 or 2 guys that you deal with, but the rest of the fair boards and some of the other, if you were smashing, pop cans or wheelbarrows, they're really not sure. They want people in cars.
Right on.
And to a point, I get it, and no harm, no foul. We're going to do our best to provide that and kind of get back to some of the basics on some of the things, have a little more fun with it, a little more laid back with it. our shows were always such a higher level. You know, it almost hurt us in some instances. Like, you know, Gulley was talking about, you know, the competition when he raised the money and how things were. And, you know, a lot of times I talk to people and it's like, well, it's so much harder to win your shows. I'd rather go over here, or I'd rather go there. I'd rather do this. Is it a bad thing? Is it a good thing? You know what? We'll probably continue to be the $5 beer. We need the guys to start to step up and compete. I agree 100% in lowering some of the payouts and not making and paying back further. I couldn't agree a lot. You know, Gulley reiterated a lot of what I was going to want to talk about for 2022. You know, and let these young guys know they can compete. Their cars are good enough. Keep working at it. In order to be the best, you have to beat the best.
Yep.
That competitive nature needs to burn within you to do better and work a little harder. Just keep in mind that in some of the places you go, it's okay to come and compete. We want to reiterate that to the guys that think, you know, not just my show, like John, you know, Gulley said, I can't compete. You can compete. You know, be sure of yourself, guys, and the youth classes that are coming. We had a youth win 2 of our hobby stock shows this year and competed as an adult in the championship with, you know, Quinslers and those guys. I mean, and competed and had an outcome, you know, made a difference in the show. Was what a 14-year-old went in there and definitely changed the outcome of the way it went. So it can be done.
It can be done. There you have it.
It can be done.
Well, I look forward to the additional announcements and stuff as you work through a bit of the off season. Enjoy your trip out to Kansas. Looking forward to catching up with you guys out there as you cheer on Team America. We got to wrap things up here on 373 tonight, but like I said, Frankie, of course, keep in touch, keep us apprised of the new developments, and hopefully you get a lot of messages here off of the announcement about the April 30th Team Compact show.
Yeah, more information to come. We'll put out and pre-registers coming. Thank the sponsors. Thank the fans. Thank you, hardcore drivers. It's a special thing to me. It's a special thing to be one. Be proud of being that, because you are part of that. And I can't reiterate how important our hardcore drivers are to us. And they'll always be that to us and mean that much to us. I get all choked up. I'm so emotional anymore, Chris. I can't help myself. But no, the hardcore drivers mean more to us than people know. Thank you for a great season. The 22 Hardcore Tour, bigger and better than ever.
You know why you get emotional about it?
I wonder sometimes.
Because it's real. Because you appreciate it. Like, you're speaking from the heart. You're not one of the people that are out there saying thank you because you're supposed to. You're saying thank you because you mean it.
Absolutely, sir.
It's a good trait to have. I don't know if you have fallen age into this, I guess, or if this was always there, but it's something that it's people notice that stuff. It's a good deal.
Well, thank you, sir.
Of course. Hey, we look forward to it, man. We got to get out of here. Fresh takes coming up after we wrap up here this evening. Frankie Guy, Jeremy Gulley, thanks for coming on the show. Again, keep up to date with Spinning Wheels and Hardcore on Facebook and on the web pages. All the announcements, all the information, everything for 2022 is going to be up there. Excellent seasons in the book for both of those promotion companies. That is going to do it for us here on episode number 373. We will see everybody back here again next week.
The Crash Course Live is presented by Smash It Demolition Derby, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, host of May Mania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com. Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel, and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York.